Welcome to Mock 10 Sports. I think we have a pretty cool, fun segment tonight. It's going to be a little different that I think you're ultimately going to enjoy. It's the midpoint of the season, as we keep saying, and everyone has holes on their roster that they would love to address. Whether it's bringing the talent floor up in a specific position room, addressing overall depth and injury issues at a certain position group, needing a leader in a key position to ultimately give you a shot to obtain your ultimate goals. Everybody's kind of in that limbo questioning, do they need that? Every team in the SEC is trying to check one of those three boxes, if not all three. So with this segment, I'm going to play general manager. I'm going to play the GM, the deciding factor on who is on and off the roster for every SEC team. And I hypothetically, hear me out, hypothetically allow them to bring one player back. I'm going to let them run it back, bring one player back to their current team this year at the mid-season point, especially in SEC play, from the past 3 seasons. So let me repeat that again so when people are watching, they're not confused. I'm going to play general manager, and I'm going to pick a player for each team in the SEC, hypothetically, and let them bring back a player from one of the past 3 seasons. So that'll be the seasons 2019, 2020, and 2021. So that'll be 2019 season, 2020 season, 2021 season. So if you hear me not talk about Deebo Samuel or something about it, South Carolina, it's because he was last year at South Carolina was 2018, just an example. So they have to be in that 3-year window. I'm bringing back a player to each team. I'm going to run through by division here. I'm looking at overall talent, position of need, and where the current team needs help at specific positions for this season as we stand right now at the 2022 part of the midway part of the SEC football season. So let's get started. Starting the SEC West, the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think you'd have to bring back the 2020 Heisman Trophy winner, DeVonta Smith, currently with the Philadelphia Eagles at the wide receiver position. The reigning Heisman Trophy winner, as we mentioned, would give Alabama a dominant wide receiver threat that it desperately needs right now. His ability to win at all 3 levels would give Bama's current wide receiver room something they don't have. He can win in the screen game, the intermediate game, and also be a threat downfield from an explosive play that Bama's struggling with right now. Now, some of it's with Bryce Young being out, but also last week, give a little bit of benefit of doubt. First start with Jalen Milroe. But Bama still needs some of those explosive plays they had last year from Jamison Williams to help Bryce Young. So I think if I had to bring one player back within that 3-year gap for Alabama, as we stand right now, it would have to be a receiver, and who better than DeVonta Smith? Moving to the next position, next team, the Arkansas Razorbacks. They don't have to go far to find this guy. We all know the struggles Arkansas's defense has had this year. So why not just go to your own locker room you're currently at, your current locker room right now? And if he's healthy, Jalen Catalon, safety, obviously I just said current player. With how bad the Arkansas defense has been, they should look no further than him. Unfortunately, Catalon's had some injury issues and went down with another season-ending injury in the first game against Cincinnati this past year, unfortunately. Catalon had a breakout season in 2020 in which he made 99 tackles and had 3 interceptions, earning him all SEC and all American accolades. He would be a big beneficiary. The Arkansas defense would be a big beneficiary if they could get Jalen Catalon back. They're struggling on the back end with injuries, like we've mentioned before. No one in this league has been hit harder with the injury bug than the Arkansas Razorbacks, especially in the back end and from an athleticism standpoint and tackling in space. Jalen Catalon would help that immediately and would make the Arkansas defense better instantly the minute he stepped on the field. Moving to the next team, the Auburn Tigers. Who better? With the quarterback struggles they've had, a player they would like to bring back at a key position here in that 3-year window than Bo Nix. No introduction for Bo Nix. Obviously, the current quarterback for the Oregon Ducks. Bo Nix doesn't look so bad right now, does he now, Auburn fans? Through 6 games this year at Oregon, he has a 70% completion percentage, 12 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Compare that to Robbie Ashford's 48% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Auburn would be better with Bo Nix and would probably have the LSU win under their belt. I will give them that. They would have the LSU. That'd be one extra win they probably would have had. They'd played Penn State closer. But Bo Nix, Granted, there's bad Bo at times, but also his ability to improvise. He played a lot of football. He started 3 years in the SEC. There's no replacement for that. So Bo Nix would be my pick for the Auburn Tigers as we stand right now. Moving to Ole Miss, stay with the signal callers. Who better than Matt Corral, one of the program's best quarterbacks of all time? Really meshed well with Lane Kiffin. It felt like they had kind of a bond. They understood each other. Kiffin was there 2 years with him, developed the kid. It was nice to see from a distance. Jackson Dart, I like the way he's going. He's slowly getting better each week, and I think he'll end up being a good player. But he's not Matt Corral, and I don't know if he'll ever get to that point. That's not really fair to put those expectations on Dart. But ultimately, the Ole Miss defense would be damn near impossible to defend. Can you imagine defending Matt Corral with the read option with Zach Evans, Quinshon Judkins, and himself, who is an efficient runner himself, and also, hey, when you want to load the box, we're going to go off play action and take shots down the field. That's what's going to happen with Matt Corral. I couldn't imagine the Ole Miss offense with Matt Corral under center. Obviously, it's not going to happen, but he obviously fits in that 3-year window because he was with the team last year. But he's a no-brainer to me. Would take this Ole Miss offense to a complete another level, and it's honestly a really good offense right now. Moving to the cross-state rivals, the Mississippi State Bulldogs, I got to go with Willie Gay. I know he's currently a little bit suspended with the Kansas City Chiefs, but hear me out on this one. I also considered Cameron Dantzler, the cornerback, plays for the Minnesota Vikings. But Willie Gay's had some off-the-field stuff, but you can't ignore the athleticism and closing speed that he displayed in college. State has improved its run defense here as late, but can you imagine having a guy like Gay added to your front seven? It would help a Zach Arnett defense out tremendously. I feel like Willie Gay, I was kind of going back and forth. One of the harder ones I came up with, like I mentioned, Cameron Dantzler was one of the other options I had, but I think an athletic, instinctual inside linebacker like Willie Gay, who went in the second round to the Kansas City Chiefs, would only make this Mississippi State defense better. Moving to LSU, no brainer. We're not even going to talk about this. Like Joe Burrow, Joey B, the dude who had arguably one of the greatest college football seasons that we've seen in 2019. Just the team in itself, one of the greatest teams of all time. This one was easy, especially when you have the upside at the wide receiver position that I think LSU has right now with Joe Burrow. But obviously he would get the ball out to a lot of the weapons they have on the outside. He's a no-brainer. I was mentioning from a leadership standpoint, you can't take away what Joe Burrow did for that team and how much he improved after that 2018-2019 year. And to be honest, you know what really sold me on Joe Burrow, a little off topic here, but you know what really sold me on Joe Burrow is I was at Texas A&M when we played them. I was on the sideline, on staff, assistant director of recruiting that year. When we played them in that 7 overtime game in 2018, they changed the overtime rules because of it. But Joe Burrow, just the way he kept battling and coming back, they had to carry him off the field because he had full body cramps. They had to carry him on the bus and onto the plane when he had full body cramps. But the guy never came out, gutted it out. We made it an extra play or two than they did. But still, that's where I grew respect for him. You know what? He never lost another college game after that. So Joe Burrow is a shoo-in for LSU, especially with their quarterback problems they had in this year. And then finally in the SEC West, the Texas A&M Aggies going to stay under center here. Kellen Mond, the quarterback from 2017 2020. I believe he's with the Cleveland Browns now. With the way A&M has struggled on offense, the last guy to run it well, the last guy to run Jimbo's offense well was Kellen Mond. In my opinion, the 2020 season for the Aggies isn't talked about enough. That's the COVID year. That was the year they went 9-1, if I remember right, correct, record-wise, but finished 5th in the college football playoff rankings where Notre Dame just got in over them. I feel like the Ags and Jimbo Fisher, as much flack as he gets, they don't get enough credit for that year with the All-SEC schedule. But to my point, Kellen Mond was a senior-led quarterback that year, had a bunch of seniors and veterans on the offensive line and some senior veteran guys who played receiver a lot in that system. The 2020 Texas A&M offense led the nation in third down efficiency offense. They would go 10, 12 plays, limit your offensive possessions, but they were so efficient. They'd stay ahead of the chains. Kellen Mond would make the easy throws. He got better his senior year. And he would make plays with his legs too and keep them ahead of the chains so they could have an efficient offense and be great on third down. I think that's the ceiling of Jimbo Fisher's offense right now. But can you imagine with Kellen Mond right now if they had him? I mean, they would at least be hitting the ceiling of what that offense is capable of being. So Kellen Mond, again, a no-brainer for me if they could get one guy back from that 3-year window. Moving to the SEC East, leading off with the Florida Gators. Kyle Pitts. I got to go Kyle Pitts here. The tight end had a big 2020 season, currently with the Atlanta Falcons. Look, I haven't been a big believer in Anthony Richardson yet. And some may say, hey, Dave, why aren't you going to take Kyle Trask? I get it, but I'm still going to believe a little bit in the development of Anthony Richardson. Maybe not this year, but next year. And I know this is an exercise for this year, but I'm going to, if Anthony Richardson had another weapon, don't get me wrong, he has his own struggles, but it's not like Florida has a ton of weapons to help him. There's no Kyle Pitts, no Trevon Grimes, Kadarius Toney's, guys like that they had in the 2020 season with Dan Mullen. But I'm gonna draft Kyle Pitts, bring him on from free agency, bring him back, let him run it back with the Gators, give Anthony Richardson another weapon. In 2020, this guy was a complete unstoppable playmaker at tight end. There's no way I could say no to him. Again, I'll give Richardson the extra weapon and give him the benefit of the doubt that will only help improve his passing game. Moving to the Georgia Bulldogs. Got to bring back Andrew Thomas, man. Last year was 2019. He's with the currently starting tackle for the New York Giants. The Georgia offensive line looks to be improved over the last game and a half, but you can never have enough insurance at the tackle position. Thomas made starts at both right and left tackle at his career at Georgia. The key to Georgia winning a national title this year is going to be its continued offensive line play and keeping Stetson Bennett upright. That'll be key. He's already nicked up a little bit from what it appears shoulder-wise. They have to protect him and continue to improve like they have over the last game and a half. Andrew Thomas would obviously definitely assist this. I think he's honestly a no-brainer. Moving to Kentucky, we're going to stay with the Hog Mollies here. Darian Kinnard, the offensive tackle, played both spots, played inside and out for the Cats. His last year was in Kentucky, 2021 season, currently with the Kansas City Chiefs. The big blue wall, the Kentucky offensive line, has not been the same this year. It hasn't. Now, granted, that's with some coaching changes. They've had 3 offensive line coaches, I believe, in the last 4 years. Some obviously due to tragedy. We're not going to get into that. But they've lost some guys to the NFL draft. But this year, they're really struggling to get push and protect. I mean, we knew this would be a transition year, like I was saying. But I did not anticipate it being this bad. They're 123rd in rushing offense and 129th in sacks allowed. And they've given up 29 sacks so far in the season. Any help at offensive line would be beneficial for the Cats, but especially an All-American, All-SEC guy that has position versatility. It can play inside at the guard position and also at any tackle position. So I think Darian Kinnard is an easy no-brainer for the Cats, especially with their struggles right now on offense and especially up front on the offensive line. Moving on, the Missouri Tigers here. I was looking through the depth chart wondering, man, who can we bring back from Missouri that would help them right now at the midseason point of this 2022 season? Where are they struggling the most? Quarterback. How about Kelly Bryant? He was there 1 year in 2019, the Clemson transfer, backed up Trevor Lawrence, ultimately played some with Trevor Lawrence that 18 season, transferred after, obviously, to Missouri in 2019. He's currently, I think I was looking it up with the FCF, the Fan-Controlled Football League, with the Zappers right now. But Bryant wasn't special at Missouri, but he is better than the current quarterback, Brady Cook. The offense ranks 86th in total offense and 103rd in passing offense. He could only improve that. Kelly would at least be a passing threat. And also he could make plays with his legs. Kelly Bryant was an efficient college quarterback. I think he would be better than what Missouri is currently playing with. You know what? They would have won the Auburn game if they had Kelly Bryant on that roster. They may have won the Georgia game with Kelly Bryant on that roster. So I'm not saying Kelly Bryant's some great elite player, but he definitely would be an improvement and be a winnable player in the SEC. And probably Missouri has 2 to 3 more wins probably under their belt if he's playing center or if he's under center. Moving to South Carolina, got to go to a position they're real thin at, just overall body-wise. But this kid's a really good player himself. Ernest Jones, a linebacker, last year was 2020, currently with the LA Rams. Jones led South Carolina in tackles in both his sophomore and junior seasons. The Gamecocks are a bit nicked up, like I just mentioned, at this position and could use another body, much less like linebacker, like I mentioned, like Jones' caliber with his football intelligence and his ability to close in on ball carriers. The run defense right now for the Gamecocks ranks 101st in the country, and Jones would only help improve a run defense as South Carolina is closing in on a critical run in the middle of the season right now. Like we mentioned, they're sitting 4-2 like I thought they would be. The eye test hadn't really been there. The run defense hadn't really been there until this past week against Kentucky. I think a little bit of that could be credited to them knowing Will Levis wasn't going to play. But Ernest Jones would be a big addition, obviously. Led him in tackles for 2 years in a row. I think he's a no-brainer to help bring the talent room, bring the floor up in a room, an inside linebacker position for the Gamecocks that's already really thin. Moving to Tennessee, we know Tennessee, a lot of great things going on for the Vols right now, but secondary is a position of concern. That's why I'm going to go back to a guy they had on the team last year, Alontae Taylor, cornerback, I believe got drafted in the second round by the New Orleans Saints. Any assistance in the secondary that is 128th in the country in passing yards allowed would help. They 128th in passing yards allowed. Yeah, they'd bring on anybody, but for sure a talent like Alontae Taylor started his career out at Tennessee on offense as a receiver, transitioned to corner, obviously. Started 31 of his 45 career games and be welcomed back with open arms right now. Tennessee, like I mentioned, off to a great start. Beat LSU in all three phases of the game on offense, special teams, and defense last week. But the secondary, holding them back. If Bryce Young plays this week, I really think it'll be tested. It really struggled against Anthony Richardson. He hadn't had a game like that against anybody else this year, but he had a big game against the Vols. Just having Alontae Taylor for another season would be huge from just a talent, experience standpoint as the Vols continue to try to climb that mountain and are poised to try to go take on the Georgia Bulldogs for that SEC East crown. And then finally, the Vanderbilt Commodores. Any edge rushing help, I think, would really help the Commodores defense that's struggling a bit this year. So that's why I went with Dayo Odeyingbo. Last season was 2020 with the Commodores. Defensive end currently with the Indianapolis Colts. Any edge experience, like I said, would be welcome for the Commodores. Odeyingbo is 5th all-time in tackles for a loss at Vanderbilt. The Doors currently ranked 91st in the country in tackles for loss and 126th in total defense. So he would improve it right off the bat. Now, significantly, I don't know because they don't have a ton of players around him, but he would at least help improve it. He would be, like I said, an instant impact for a guy, for a defense that is struggling to get off the field and ultimately just wore down in the second half against Ole Miss. Great game plan coming into the first half, like we've talked about on the podcast, but you could tell they just wore down in the second half. Odeyingbo would definitely help that. And look, a lot of teams are always a player or two away from taking that next step. But I thought it would be a good exercise to go back in time and, like I mentioned, hypothetically allow each team to bring back a former player that would fit a need of theirs as we hit the midway point of conference play. I enjoyed this exercise. I hope you got a lot out of it. Going back in time, letting these guys run it back, hypothetically coming back for one more year, addressing team needs as we're at the midpoint of the season. And I appreciate you joining us on this segment of Mock 10 Sports. Have a great evening. Keep following us on Mock 10 Sports for the best information on SEC sports.